The way Frieren just casually did the impossible, like it was her making a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, just comes second nature to her. Wasn't even a if she could do it, it was just a matter of when she needed to. The fact that a barrier that was considered invincible, invulnerable, because the person who casted it, no one's going to surpass. Well, that is until they realize that Frieren, the legendary, the last of the legendary mages, the one who was with the hero party, says hello in the most dramatic and incredible way possible. Because here's the thing, if you really look at last week's episode, she didn't really seem all that worried about the two girls, which, if you think about it, when Stark and Frieren were left to defend against those demons, back when we were doing the whole necromancer fight with the undead and everything, she also wasn't worried for them because she knew that they could handle it. But the thing is that she doesn't really know these two the same way, but she felt very confident, and honestly, she had more confidence in them than I did, because I honestly felt like with the way this dude was ready to put any mage 6 feet under, it's kind of a little freaky. But the fact that once she's done dealing with Denken, and she didn't struggle, similar to Fern, basic magic attacks. You don't need complex magic attacks when you're dealing with mages of this world in this time period, because that's all that's needed. The fact that she realizes, like, listen, I'm not really worried about them, but I am going to give them a bit of help, does the most beautiful spell we've seen to date. That bolt of light shooting up, cracking, the glass shattering effect, and then the rain coming in so that they could get the W on their opponent. Everything about that scene, I think, is my new favorite moment of Frieren to date. Hands down, no questions asked. It was beautiful, it was dramatic, it blew me away, and the casual cutaway to this girl just chilling in her big ass library being like, that's one way to say hello after 1,000 years apart. There's so much I want to see, and there's so much to discuss with, once again, another perfect Frieren episode. That was incredible. I of course have a full live reaction over on my Patreon if you want to see my full uncut thoughts as we watch today's wonderful episode. It's over there if you're interested. Now, honestly, I wasn't sure where we were going to go with the whole you can get any spell you want if you become the best of the best, right? Because honestly, for me, the way I was looking at it was Frieren is hungry. She always likes more and more spells. And while of course her master, well, this was, the person who gives you the spell, that was her master's master. So the idea of her meeting her before, was always on the table, but I figured like the big reason that Frieren maybe wouldn't go hungry and thirsting after any spell she wants is because she now values the lives of those she travels with. Like when you look at the beginning of this show and her wasting months and months looking for a flower, not taking into consideration Fern's disapproval of, I have a short life, I don't want to spend all my time wasting it looking for a flower that probably doesn't exist, to where she's at now, not wanting to wait around a couple more days to find something important to her because she doesn't want to waste her companion's time. She's not someone who puts people's lives or time in danger anymore, so that was going to be my big reason of her not taking risks and doing whatever it takes to get it. Turns out, no, like, her desire is she finds spells herself. The whole thrill of being a mage is discovering things yourself, not being it handed to you, which is pretty much the same mindset that Denken has, and we had a very mutual fight because of that. A lot of respect. Honestly, like, even though Denken had no chance in hell defeating her or even making her sweat, there is a similar mindset at play there, and I'm interested to see if we'll see anything this season, because it's possible we might get a conversation with those two again in terms of, hey, 1,000 years ago, I came with my master. You thought I was impressive. I declined your offer of any spell, and now you hate me or think I'm pathetic. There's a lot of potential right there, but the idea of the way Frieren goes about its animation for its magic attacks, I'm probably not the only one feeling this, but when you compare how magic is thrown at other characters, it doesn't look like any other anime that you can compare it to. A firebolt, a lightning strike, an ice attack, they all have a general anime feel in most shows. Like, maybe there's a very specific style, even like a Demon Slayer as an example. Whether you love that show or hate it, the way they go about using elemental attacks for a visual representation doesn't look like really any other show out there. And I think Frieren has this style that just like, when you look at a character cast ice shards, or you look at a character doing a fiery tornado of death, the style, the art direction, the animation and how it moves so expressively, nothing about it feels like, oh, this reminds me of this anime. No, it reminds me of Frieren. No anime looks like Frieren when it comes to those attacks. The general look of the world and character models, yeah, maybe you can find some similarities to other shows, but the actual attacks, and because of that, I honestly feel like it never feels like the reason we get hyped up by the action is because, oh, character got punched, or oh, the character got hit by this elemental attack. To me, it's almost like when the magic's happening, like it's being summoned, before it even attacks someone, I don't even care about that. It's almost like watching an elegant dance take place. and it's always beautiful, it's always captivating, and the fact that the fights aren't overly long and dragged out, they leave you wanting more. Like, Frieren versus Denken, I mean, in my mind, I could have watched that for 20 minutes, but realistically, it shouldn't last 20 minutes unless the author was trying to stretch it out, or the anime studio was stretching it out because they didn't want to reach a certain point until this episode. Instead, he gave it his all, and she easily deflected and kicked his ass. And it was so well done that it leaves you wanting more, which is what you want. Leave the viewers wanting more, don't make the viewers say, okay, can we just wrap it up? And then when we switch to the other fight, similar things. Like, they were getting bodied, and he literally sat down for a snack saying, like, listen, Denken loses, I'll kill you guys, otherwise, just stay down, basically. Like, as much as he was ready to put those girls under, like, he did have a moral code as twisted as it was at the end of the day. Killing mages is permitted, and he was listening to Denken's advice, but if his bro can't handle Frieren, there's no reason for him to keep liabilities alive. Obviously, we see it didn't work out for him, and he actually made a pretty sloppy move touching the water, but you know what? All's well that ends well for us anyway. And when you consider the fact that there was a couple of moments both with Fern and Frieren where they almost didn't have the bird, and they would have failed the first part of this exam, the fact that the way they kind of like side-eye each other when they're standing in line kind of congratulating, like, hey, you guys passed the first one, we're going on to act 2 now, it doesn't feel like they were shocked by the fact that they passed. Like, they knew the other would make it, but when you consider how easily both teams could have failed, I mean, it's actually pretty impressive. There's 2 very, very funny moments. The first is with Fern in the cave where she talks about which spell she has and the idea that she can see through clothes. I've been wondering if anything would make those 2 fight, and honestly, the fact that she almost got sexually assaulted from her point of view, maybe that's how they'll throw hands. Fern's just a curious cat. She doesn't have malicious intent, but the way she brings stuff up like that, it's understandable, that reaction. But my favorite is the very end of the episode with my boy Stark. I've heard a lot of people say, man, I get why he's not a part of this arc, but I miss him. I was just saying he's probably on vacation. Like, the boy has gone through so much stress with those 2. And honestly, while I don't think he's drinking his sorrows away, he's probably eating like a lot of desserts. I just find it hilarious that he's eating and drinking his sorrows away, ranting to the bartender, the innkeeper about the hell he's been through. My boy deserves all the rest he wants. I don't need to see him for another 7 episodes. Show me the very last episode, them all getting back together in the party, but give him a damn break. He deserves it. Now, of course, those are my feelings. This was a great episode. I don't think there's been a single bad episode, a single episode less than 10 out of 10. There's something special about Frieren, and I know I'm not alone feeling that. But let me know what you thought of the ending of the first part of the test, and how excited were you when you saw that barrier shatter, because I loved it myself. Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we had that full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we have Merlin, Hermes 43333, Jimmel Scales, Vincent Granville, the Emperor WWE, and HK Supreme. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.